This is the Grumpy Old Gamer podcast, and today we are going to be talking about a subject which is close to every Grumpy Old Gamer's heart. Gaming now, right? I'm joined by Ian.
A pleasure.
And by Tim.
Well, ahoy, hoy.
You guys well?
I am well.
I'm alive.
You're alive. Well, that's all we can ask for. Ian, I'll come to you first of all. Do you agree? Is gaming now?
Kinda. I mean, yeah, kinda is, isn't it? I mean, the whole thing is with monetization. DLC kind of started off as like a good thing, but then it got really ridiculous really fast, where it gets to the point now where you're not really getting the full game experience unless you bought all the DLC. And so the game, it's $70 right there for the game, but then you got to get the season pass on top of that, unless you're going to be missing out on content. And there's everything, especially with like the casino style loot boxes, just it's all designed to get, as much money out of us as possible and continue have us paying us, versus the old days where it was, just you got the game, you finished it, you shipped it, and that was it.
Tim, it seems as if when a studio launches a game, it does it with a DLC strategy already built in. Do you think that's the case?
Oh yeah, 100%. I hate it. They make a roadmap of games that I think I first noticed it properly because I love Battlefield. I first noticed it with Battlefield 3, but they didn't do it like in a way that was awful. Because what was that? That was 2011. They released if you pre-ordered it, which was the last game I pre-ordered actually thinking about it, you would get Revenge of Karkand, which was like Battlefield 2 maps, which I loved. And then, essentially, I think they were one of the first people who did like a Battle Pass, but it wasn't egregious. Whereas now Battle Passes just feel like I'm not paying £130 for a game that could, I don't know, I just want a finished game to begin with, and then maybe some expansion packs. Actually, that's the term I miss, expansion packs. People consider DLC expansion packs now, and charging the same bit for maybe 3 maps, and it's not worth it. I'm not spending that kind of money.
It's almost like the size of the DLC, and I use that with Space Comets, because people are releasing a new skin for a character and calling it a DLC. Now, I'm very old and also very grumpy, and I think back to the first time I ever bought expansion packs was with the old Red Alert, and you got Counter-Strike and Aftermath with the 2 expansion packs, and each had maybe 15 to 20 missions. On Counter-Strike, you got the secret ant missions as well, which you only could find by clicking on a speaker on the main menu. And of course, there was no internet then, so it was word of mouth that got that around. And I think that the quality and the quantity of content has just dropped so far that gaming is shit now.
I think it's just an annoying ease of access. People have just got complacent and lazy rather than actually putting effort into it. I mean, I do remember that expansion pack, and I found it out by reading PC Gamer. Who reads PC Gamer now? I used to get that just for the demos, essentially.
The demo disc.
Yes.
Best thing in the world.
Oh, they were so good. Especially early 2000s, where they'd give you like just the multiplayer of a game, which at that point, sometimes that was just the game. I remember one with, I think it was Splinter Cell Black Cell or something, and the multiplayer was the best bit of the game. They just gave it away on demo disc. Good fun.
I think one really shining example of the DLC gone horribly, horribly wrong, and I think you guys can back me up on this, is The Sims, where the base game for The Sims, or The Sims 2 or whatever, is only like whatever on sale, but there's so many expansion packs, and all of them are like $30-$40 to, some of them are like cheaper, but some of them are almost as much as the full price game. And I think someone did the math, and they said it would take hundreds of dollars to be able to buy all of the Sims content and stay relevant all at once.
Do you know how much it would cost for you to buy The Sims 4 and all DLC right now?
Have a whirl.
25. How much would it cost, Tim?
$500, I bet. Something like that.
Ian?
$350.
You're so far off, it's unbelievable.
Oh.
$1,484.02.
Well, thank you for proving my point, even though I was wrong.
I'm not saying like sail the high seas, but no.
Can you imagine if you want the full experience for The Sims 4, which is what it's an old game. It's not like it's a new experience. And I mean, is The Sims 4 any different from The Sims 3 or The Sims 2 or the original Sims? Probably not much. But to get the full experience, you need to spend close to $1,500.
Well, I was going to say the exact same thing. Like, if they ever release a new Sims game, which they probably won't, they've been milking this. If you buy the base game, what's the point with all those expansion packs? It's probably going to be a worse game. That's all I was going to say, because then they're going to milk that cow. But do they really need to? It's silly.
Getting just the Sims is like going into the ice cream store and buying like just the plain vanilla with, everyone else is getting chocolate and caramel and strawberry and all these different flavors, and you're just sitting there watching everybody go, and you just have your basic old vanilla.
What do you think of the other way of doing it, which is subscription services? So I'm sure you would have done, you played Stellaris?
Oh, yes.
So, they have a subscription service now, and I think you pay maybe it might be $10 a month to give you access to all of their DLCs. And there's quite a lot of DLCs in Stellaris. Do you think is that a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Are they taking the piss by doing that, or is it quite reasonable?
No, that's an interesting one, because I love Stellaris. And I don't have all the DLCs. Well, yeah, evidently. But you know what? Maybe for a month, if there was a campaign. It's like when a new game releases and it goes straight to Game Pass. I'll probably buy Game Pass for that first month and then consider if I want to buy it. Just for a month. And then if I enjoyed it, I enjoyed it. Buy it down the line. At least I played it. We're all PC gamers. We can wait type thing. But with games like Stellaris, that's a hard question. Because I probably would for a month and rinse the hell out of it.
Yeah, a friend of mine, he will buy whenever he feels like playing Stellaris, and of course it's like a career if you play it all the time. He will take a subscription for a month, play it for a month, and then cancel the subscription until he wants to play it again in 6 months' time.
So, as an old gamer, one thing I like to do is play my old games. And one thing that I really love is I can go right now and grab my PS2 and throw a game in there and turn it right on. But what do I do with all these games that have that subscription model now? What happens when the game dies? And does that mean I just no longer can play this game? Even though you can go back right now and play Super Mario 3 on the original Nintendo if you really want to.
Well, that's a very interesting point. It's probably a conversation that we'll save for another episode, because if you'll have seen the Stop Killing Games campaign, which is there saying that if you launch a game, you launch it with the understanding that you make sure that when you stop support for that game, you make sure it's in a playable state, so that people who have paid for it can continue to enjoy it. And it's an EU initiative, so sorry Americans, it's not going to help you, but hopefully it will, because you get blowback. I mean, the whole microtransactions thing that was hit by the EU. It was very successful. 1.4 million people have signed up for this, and there's been a recent Ubisoft blowback against that. But what you mentioned there, Ian, about you can take that game from your PS2, and I love the PS2. I bought the PS2 on launch along with the Gladiator DVD, which is one of my favorite movies. No games, just the Gladiator DVD.
I was going to say, mate, one of the best films ever made.
Absolutely. But what you say there, Ian, is really interesting, because you know that when you plug in your PS2, dust off the cobwebs, put a game in, you know it's going to work. You know that it's going to work straight away, because the games were launched, fully tested and fully working. And now there seems to be this broken launch epidemic where games are released in a buggy, unplayable state, and the meme of the day one patch is reality.
As I can see where they're coming from, because as a game developer, that makes sense, because you have a product that you're continuously working on, and if it's in a state where it's playable, you can get more money by putting it out now. The people that, are excited about the game that just want to play it, they'll play it even if it's garbage. But I mean, they should really be doing back to what they were doing, where it was, it goes out when it's done. We don't need another Cyberpunk 2077.
I think people have I'm not a massive fan of pre-orders, not now, especially with this. People have pre-order bias where they'll say it's an amazing game, even though it's flawed to all hell. They've already invested everything. Most people would be like, no, that's silly. But there's a certain bias. Cyberpunk, I mean, eventually it fixed itself, and I heard on console it was a mess. But personally, when I had it on PC, I had no issues. But I think I was the 5% compared to the 95%,
Did it launch at the same time on PC as it did on console?
I think it did, yeah.
Yeah, because often you will see the situation where games, if we know that when GTA 6 comes out, it's going to be launched on Xbox and PS5 first. So if it is broken at launch, and please don't let it be broken at launch, all of those bugs get ironed out before us, the PC master race gets access to it.
Of course. We're just used to waiting, so I don't mind waiting. That's my point.
Well, I think a good example of a game that came out where it was not polished was Fallout 76, where if you play it now, it's a good game. It's a lot more polished. They've added, NPCs and other, basic things like that. But on launch, it was buggy. It was unplayable. It was barely any content to do. It was a mess.
Mm-hmm. But Fallout's a huge franchise from Bethesda, isn't it? So it's a huge developer publisher with millions, with an enormous amount of investment behind them, so they can afford to take a hit like releasing a game which is broken on launch and then fix it later down the line. They can take the financial hit. But you look at a game like Redfall from Arcane, launched, it was terrible and it never recovered.
I don't know. I saw some of those videos where they were just showing some of the bugs, and it was pretty hilarious. So, I mean, I certainly got a lot of entertainment and joy out of Redfall.
Did you buy it as a comedy game?
God, no, I didn't buy it.
It's not Leisure Suit Larry, is it?
Oh, no, it's not.
Not exactly polished. Who said the quote, you will own nothing and you will be happy? Because that's definitely becoming true for video games lately. Everything is shifted to live service and digital distribution, and you don't actually own anything. You just own the code.
It sounds like a quote from 1984, doesn't it? It's pure dystopia. It is pure dystopia.
Yeah, it's, I'm fairly sure that was Ubisoft, but what they have been saying the past few years is just beyond dystopian. I can't quite believe it. I mean, recently they said adding microtransactions into games makes the game more fun. So, what are they on about? It's silly.
Well, if the microtransaction is fun, then surely they're right, aren't they?
Well, they like money.
Well, of course I like money. Of course I like money. Look, we don't live in a communist utopia. We live in a capitalist society, a cutthroat capitalist society where everybody's out to make a bit of money for themselves. So they're not going to say, hey, microtransactions are shit. They're going to say microtransactions are fun because they want people to pay for their microtransactions. So for them to say that, and it's pure marketing spin, but for them to say that can't be unexpected. I mean, it's galling and it's the audacity of saying such a thing. But I guess what you have to remember is that if you think of the person who is of average intelligence, half the population are more stupid than them.
Dear God.
They're going to believe it, aren't they? They are. They're going to believe that bullshit, and they're going to fall for it.
Someone thought it was a good idea to have DRM. I don't know who it was. That guy needs to be punched in the face.
Wasn't one of the main examples Diablo 3? I think that was the main one that I really remembered. Because that... and SimCity. That was a massive one. That was just awful.
So this is where it requires you to have like a constant connection to the internet, isn't it?
Yes, on single-player games, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Can't stand it.
So if you're out at someone else's house or on vacation or whatever, and like you're trying to play a game, it's not going to work unless you get that internet connection, which isn't so much of an issue now, but it used to be.
Yeah, so is the complaint around DRM still valid in 2025?
I think so. I mean, I still think it's kind of an evasion a little bit where like they, expect that you have to be on. They say it's for, security and so that they, can take out cheating, but yeah, I'm pretty sure they're just collecting data.
I wouldn't necessarily it's collecting data. I think it's honestly it's laziness. Personally, they integrate all these online things in what is essentially a single player game, but one doesn't work without the other, which really defeats the point. I remember when Diablo 4 came out, they had a deal for Diablo 2 remastered. No DRM for that. I was like, I'm just going to play that instead. I'm going to play that, and I can play it offline whenever I want, and it's probably going to be a better game. Turns out it was, so good choice for me.
But isn't the idea behind DRM to stop people from pirating games?
I think they still got around that, don't they?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
So are we? I mean, really, are we? Is this bunch of grumpy old men complaining about something we don't quite understand?
Yeah, essentially. I just don't see the point.
It's cool to hate DRM, so let's hate DRM.
I mean, with certain games, obviously it serves a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I would say maybe like MMOs and stuff like that. Sure, but
if it's a single player game, there's no excuse for why a single player game should have like an always online requirement, especially the ones that disconnect you.
Because their servers have gone down, not because you've not paid your phone bill for your internet, because their servers go down and you get kicked out of the game for no reason. It's no fault of your own. And you're right. This is the kind of situation or the kind of system that makes gamers reliant upon third parties. It's another reason why gaming's shit.
it is. It's you've paid. Say it comes out like day one. Day one, you may have been one of those people who pre-ordered it, or you just brought it day one, and you booked like the day off work, and the servers get overloaded on a single player game, and you can't play it.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point? They probably wouldn't give a refund either, because it's their end, not your end. I don't know. It really annoys me. I had that happen with Battlefield 3. It's the first time I remember doing that. But I was going to be playing the multiplayer, but all the servers went down because everybody wanted to play multiplayer. It's like, well, that was a waste of a day off, and no one plays Battlefield for the single player.
Whenever you have a game like Diablo 4, I think you get that whole experience.
Well, Diablo 4, they integrated it into like trying to make it a semi-MMO though, didn't they? But Diablo 3 was rather different.
I'm not sure what Diablo 3 was.
I'm still wondering, mate.
Well, this brings us on to something else which I think is very interesting, and it's certainly a shift in the gaming landscape that we've seen, which is live service games. The worst one. Speak up if you think it's brilliant, and audience too. Leave us a comment if you think this game's brilliant, because I think it's absolutely terrible. Fortnite, the worst thing that's happened to gaming in a generation.
Yep. And it was supposed to be a single-player game.
Was it? Is that right? It was supposed to be single player.
Originally, yeah, they were trying to do like what EverQuest Next did and Minecraft did. It was supposed to be like a Minecraft-esque game of building, and then they released the multiplayer, and then boop, live service.
Uh-huh.
And then they completely scrapped the single player, and yep, that's that.
Fortnite isn't really a game. It's a storefront for selling skins.
It is. It is. Also, don't they put on like gigs and stuff to sell skins? Like literally live shows of bands that you don't want to listen to anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Never played the game, but I don't like the ideology of it.
Well, the reason why you don't understand it, my man, is because you're a grumpy old gamer.
Very valid. Not the point.
Just own that. Own that.
Fine. Grumpy old gamer Tim over here. Yeah, I don't like it.
I think Fortnite's a good example of a live service game, but I think a problem is you get all these servers where it becomes a dead service game where, if the game turns to shit and then they just give up support on it, like the recent Avengers game is a good example. Can't play that anymore. Servers are all dead.
And that didn't take long either.
No. And there's a whole bunch of ones like that. Anthem, remember that one?
Yeah, they've completely pulled the plug now, haven't they? Actually, didn't they say they're completely shutting it down?
Yep, exactly. And there was one game, Concord, that was shut down just 2 weeks after launch.
Oh, I thought it was less than that.
Maybe we'll be generous and give them the 2 weeks.
Okay, I thought it was a couple of days, but yeah, and that wasn't it like, didn't they pay like 500 million and took them like 10 years or something absolutely ridiculous?
I think it was 200 million, but any million is a lot for it to be shut down 2 weeks after launch.
Yeah, that got shelved very quickly.
People have seen the success of Fortnite, and as much as we despise it to its very core as what is essentially a storefront for having kids bug their parents for money for books, is it Fortnite books or whatever, to spend on the latest Spider-Man skin or the latest emote, which is, I learned, is a dance. Who knew? So we can't. We have to accept, whether we want to or not, guys, we have to accept that Fortnite is an extremely popular and successful game from Epic, right? And the success of Fortnite has allowed them to, if not challenge, then certainly snap at the heels of Steam as an online storefront. Has the success of Fortnite not been the catalyst for the amount of crap that gets launched? The ones you've mentioned there, Marvel's Avengers, all this kind of stuff. People said, well, if Fortnite can do it, we've got a great IP, let's do it as well. So can we really blame Fortnite for the state of gaming, certainly live service at the moment?
I think it's one of those unfortunate truths of when it really got huge, so many studios were years behind. So they're playing catch up, but they think it's working for them, so we'll do it. And then it comes out a few years too late, and then it's done. I hate to say it, but Fortnite did it first, and it worked. But people are trying to play catch up, and it's not working. I think it's a really bad state of affairs, honestly.
I think a good example of that is the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League that came out recently.
Yep.
Just absolute dumpster fire of a mess.
Yep. Absolutely awful.
This is because Marvel's better than DC.
Debatable.
By the same studio that did like Arkham Asylum and stuff. It was like, what a downgrade.
If you want to debate that, I will debate that with you until the cows come home.
Okay.
But
That could be an
maybe
episode.
not. Maybe not right now. Maybe not right now.
I'll do Star Wars versus Star Trek too.
Oh, now that's actually I love both of them, to be honest. Not the recent ones, but no, yeah. Let's move on.
Okay. The next thing that I'd like to talk about when it comes to why gaming is shit is the monopoly that we have now. You have fewer and fewer studios. They're getting bought out. I think that there's devs being laid off whenever there's an acquisition. Are we not just bleeding dry the talent that's out there to make great games by sticking it into the hands of your Microsofts and your Sonys and letting them rule the roost when it comes to games?
Every time that we see that there was an acquisition, you just know that studio is going to be shut down in 6 months, because they take good studios, they make good products, and then they just inevitably make things worse every single time. Whenever there's a major acquisition, I don't think it's ever made things better for the little studios that they work under or they work with.
People up higher up expect things to be done ASAP, and I think it just burns out devs. Throughout like past 5 years, studios like just dying through just crunch, I think the term is, where they have just been worked their socks off. If the game doesn't peak at like say 5 million sold within a certain amount of quota, yeah, the studio's crushed. It's unfortunate.
Is the gaming industry becoming a monopoly?
Yes.
Yeah, look at Microsoft. I mean, picked up Activision Blizzard, picked up Bethesda, ZeniMax Media.
Yeah, they've basically got everything apart from Sony and Nintendo.
And I think they were like multi-billion-dollar deals as well, weren't they?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Activision Blizzard was bought for $75.4 billion, and ZeniMax Media was bought, which is the parent of Bethesda, was bought for $8.1 billion.
And what's the benefit to the consumer for that?
I mean, the only way I can see it from like Microsoft perspective is Game Pass. That's it. They're putting everything into Game Pass, like day one like releases from so many studios, but that's it. I can't see any other reason.
I mean, ideally it would be, they're going to reinvigorate the brand and, create some hitters, and really sell some units, but they're probably not going to, and they're probably just going to end up gutting the studios. I don't think there's a real plus.
That's how they sell it. We're going to take over the studio and we're going to invest, and you're going to see some great games come from this. But then the reality is that they take over the studio and they cut and they cut and they cut, and they merge, and the identity of these developers that we as older gamers fell in love with is wiped out.
I completely agree. One that really has hit me, like, I must admit, back in the day, I used to play a lot of like 360 when I was in college. But Halo, look what they've done with Halo. Like, it's an absolute shambles of what it used to be. I don't even think the company's the same company anymore. I think they even like said 343 is now just Halo Studios. They keep changing the name and just ruining things. And it's like, well, it's not these guys. It's a different name, same product. Like, it's lost its soul. How about that?
I never was interested in Halo. So where does Bungie fit into Halo?
Bungie was the original developer. Yeah, they made Halo 1, 2, 3, and Reach, I think. Yeah. And then it went off to make Destiny, I think, after that. Then 343 took over Halo, and we won't speak about that.
And a Microsoft the parent company for 343?
Yes, they always have been.
Okay. Because Halo was a Microsoft exclusive, wasn't it? It would never,
Yes.
and I was always a PlayStation guy. I wasn't really an Xbox guy. I was always because I always looked at PlayStation as being the grown up console. I had a PS1 as opposed to an Xbox 360. So we are going back 1 or 2 years now, and I always preferred the adult tone that you got from PlayStation with Resident Evil, with the Tekken games and things like that. I always kind of dismissed the Xbox as maybe being more childish.
I do agree. Like, I grew up PlayStation and PS2, but I must admit, when the original Xbox came out, the actual Xbox One, Halo was a massive seller. And it was, even as a PC gamer, and I did have a PC back then, Halo, playing that FPS was groundbreaking. It was such a good game. But I did love my PS2.
And it seems that these games were released. So Halo was a Xbox exclusive. So it was Microsoft. Because we almost seem to be moving away from a situation where things have exclusivity now, don't we? Things tend to, if you look at Sega, for example, Sega had their exclusives with Sonic the Hedgehog, but now Sonic, it gets hoarded out to anybody who wants him.
Especially Nintendo.
Yes.
I think they're the only exclusive ones out now, because as of like the past year, Xbox exclusives are now going to PlayStation. I think PlayStation exclusives are going to Xbox, but yeah, back then it was still a console war, really.
The big question I have is for the next Elder Scrolls game. Is that going to be Xbox exclusive because Xbox owns the company, or are they going to be cool and let it go to PS5 or PS6 or whatever the hell when it finally comes out?
I think it'd be ridiculous if it was an Xbox exclusive. If they're already trading exclusives now, Elder Scrolls, I don't think they want them. Yeah, no, I think it'd be silly if they didn't release it on everything straight away.
It seems to me that the idea around exclusivity has gone. So the games were exclusive in order to push sales of a particular console. So let's go back, way back to the 90s, when you had the Super Nintendo and you had the Mega Drive, the first 16-bit machines. I remember when they were state of the art. Sonic was exclusive to the Mega Drive or the Genesis, if you're a crazy American, and Mario was exclusive to the Nintendo. And the reason they was exclusive was to push the sales of those consoles. But now you look at the PS5, you look at the Xbox One, they're sold at a loss. They're sold below the cost that it takes to manufacture them, because they make their money by selling games. So does it not make more financial sense for a studio to make sure that their games are available on all platforms? Because that's where they're making their money. They're not making their money with the hardware, they're making their money with the software.
And I think one thing that I've seen in the last couple of years is time exclusivity, where I could see the Elder Scrolls doing something like this, where like for the first 6 months you can only play it on an Xbox, and then they release it on everything else.
Oh wait, didn't they actually do that with Starfield? Maybe I'm overthinking, but can you play that on the PlayStation?
No,
Like, genuine question. Oh, but then
they did that with. I mean, Grounded was like that, I think.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that. Yeah, they probably would do that. Like GTA then for the PC.
Time exclusivity sucks, but it's not as bad, I guess, if it was like hardware exclusivity.
Yeah, I think we're moving away from that.
Hopefully.
The one thing you mentioned earlier when we're talking about this, Tim, I think you referred to it as a crunch, like dev burnout. Did you want to expand on that?
Yeah, especially past few years, so many developers, they've been overworked, which with things I don't think they're very passionate about. I think people are just ticking boxes for release dates, and it really burns out the developers. So people I've heard have been working 100-hour weeks at least when they should just be doing not that, obviously. And you can see in the product, like, people are just trying to push it out, and then like, hey, deadline done, and then see what happens. People are leaving the industry for it. When that game isn't a success, the studios shut down, and people wonder why.
And that's what, when you see a game that has lots of like bugs and glitches, then, yeah, they were definitely pushing their guys really hard, and apparently they didn't get all of them. The whole idea is they have to appease the shareholders, so they set the release date first, then they go about building the thing, which is kind of the bass-ackwards way of doing it.
The issue is this. If you have a game development studio with 400 employees and you are paying them all a salary of $2,000 a month and you delay your game by a month, cost implication is significant because you haven't got a product to release. You're not making any money. Mm-hmm. So every month that you delay, and it's late, my math isn't mathing at the moment, but you're talking about multiple thousands or tens of thousands of dollars a month costs, pure cost, for every single month that you delay a game. If I was a shareholder, I can understand why I would be frustrated if a studio said, we're going to release the game in August 2025, and then they say, actually, we're going to push it back to October 2025. Because I'm saying, well, that's another 2 months. That's another $50,000 or $100,000 that it is being cut off the profits for this.
I can see it from that perspective. And yes, I guess it'd be frustrating.
It all comes down to the dollar bill at the end of the day, because they need to get it out to start making money, and they need to get it out so they stop spending money.
If it's a negative launch, people will always remember a negative launch rather than an okay or that's pretty good launch. You may be able to fix it in time, but launch is the whole point.
Especially with PC games. I mean, if you think there's not much out there which is more relevant than Steam. PC gamer typically gets his games off Steam. If you launch a buggy, broken mess and you are hit with mostly negative reviews, the chance of you recovering from that is insignificant. You're never going to bounce back from a mostly negative review score to become mostly positive. It's just not going to happen. Those are intrinsic risks of releasing something too quick. But we see it all the time. And these developers are beholden, or not necessarily the developers, but the publisher is beholden to the shareholder. They put the pressure on the developers. You must get this game out in time because we're getting pressure from the corporate dicks above. And that's why they release a crappy product. And the only person who suffers is you and me.
It's like when they have a crappy Marvel movie, it's because they set the release date before they actually worked any of the work about how long it's actually going to take.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why as well, this is a 50-50, but early access is a double-edged sword. But it has a little bit more respect, because if people see progress with that, especially as an indie developer, they're like, okay, you're not being pushed, at least you're making the game type thing. But when they see like a AAA game, or as Ubisoft like to say, a quadruple A game come out as an absolute mess, first impressions last, even if they do fix it in the end.
I'm just going to say, fuck Ubisoft.
Fuck Ubisoft indeed.
Fuck yeah.
Then I'm going to stick a pin in that. When it comes to early access, and I'm going to leave indie developers out of this because I have a deep affinity with indie developers. I think they are the future. They are what keeps gaming alive. If you launch a AAA title or even a AA title into early access, what you're doing is you're saying, I'm no longer a consumer or player, I'm a beta tester. And that really pisses me off because I don't want to pay to test your game. If you want me to test your game, send me a key. and I'll test it. And if you email grumpyoldgamer@gog.fm, you can send me all the keys you like, and I'll test your game for you, and we'll even talk about it. But do not expect me to pay to test your game. Absolutely refuse. Unless you are an indie developer, because we love the indies.
I can give one exception to that rule, and I don't think they're a AAA developer, but Baldur's Gate 3. They were releasing it bits by bits by bits. Was it Larian Studios, I think it is?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and they did that right. They're a small studio compared to so many others, and look what that netted them. Probably one of the best RPGs ever made.
Another example is Mana Lords. Slavic Magic is a solo dev released Mana Lords, which is one of the best strategy games to come out in recent years, and it's still in early access. And I don't fall down with that, because he doesn't have the funds, he doesn't have the marketing department, he doesn't have all of the resources that a AAA studio has. So I'm totally okay with supporting indie devs with early access. What I refuse to do is to be a beta tester for a AAA game studio. I just ain't going to do it.
I completely agree. I wholeheartedly agree. In fact, I was playing Mana Lords last night. One of the most refreshing games. It's one of those games that I'll play before I go to bed type thing, because it is just fantastic. And what he has done is ridiculous. And even when you log into the game, it's like, this is a solo project I've been working on for 7 years. Please respect that. And you know what? It's probably one of the best, like, city building, and some of the fighting in it is fantastic. I don't generally get into that. I just prefer, like, building a village.
Well, I think on the other side, the early access, and I don't know if this is a major studio or not, but 7 Days to Die was in early access for over a decade. I think, is it still technically in early access?
I think it got released recently.
I know it got released like the version 1.0 and 2.0, but I don't know if it's still considered early access, because that's what my PlayStation tells me every time I boot it up.
I would consider 1.0 done, surely.
It should be, yeah. 1.0 is normally your release, isn't it? You should be coming up out of early access if you're version 1.
You would think, but every time I do it, there's a loading screen at the bottom that says, this is a work in progress. It's in early access. Please don't hate us. Paraphrased.
Yeah, and of course we don't. Okay, guys, before we finish, because I'm conscious that we're getting towards the end of our time together, and it's been delightful. Were games really better before? Let's be honest.
I mean, the quality of the games, I mean, they're less graphically and less visually impressive, but I think, there's something just timeless about some of them. You look at, original Zelda games, the graphics suck compared to stuff that comes out now, but I mean, that's a solid game.
Or like the PlayStation era Final Fantasies. Like, I'm not sure if it's like nostalgia goggles, but I can't fault them whatsoever. They were complete. How about that? They were complete.
Well, even Super Mario, which was released in the 90s, you can pick up Super Mario now and you can play it and you can still have fun. It doesn't have graphical fidelity. It doesn't have a booming soundtrack, but the playability has never been lost. It's an absolute classic, and will remain an absolute classic for as long as I'm alive, which is probably another 5 years or so. But
3. Best I can do is 3.
3 years. Do we make games like we used to?
You're completely right, and that just sparked thought. Those games, even when they released, they had charm, and I think that's something that's lacking in games now. There's no charm. There's no feeling behind it. It just feels like it's being forced out for the sake of being forced out. Whereas you could pick up any of those games, especially like Mega Drive, SNES era kind of games, and you can just enjoy it. There's no charm anymore.
I think they had the same thing back in the old days, as they do now. They have some games that are just put out just to make a quick buck, and they have some that you can tell is a passion project, and you can tell that just somebody put their heart and soul into this. It's like Red Dead Redemption. They put in there, the horse, if it's cold, its balls will shrink. I mean, that is dedication to the craft, man.
And I'm not saying charm as in like with indie games. So many of them have charm. I'm talking about like the big kind of like companies type thing. They've just lost some soul.
I would agree with that. And the games are getting more and more expensive. It's getting crazy. Like what happened to, I remember games were $50, $60 for the longest time. And Now it's like $80.
Is that not just inflation?
Yeah, probably it's just inflation. Well, EA recently, I think today actually, had to revert selling, not EA, sorry, Microsoft, had to revert selling games for $80 back to 60. It was just announced. They're like, oh, we're lowering our prices again. So it's like they probably hiked it, got bad reception, then brought it down again.
But I mean, still, that's not taking into account any of the DLC, any of the season pass stuff. So I mean, you're paying for the base game, but then you got to pay for everything on top of it. Versus in the old days, it was just pretty much a straightforward, however much a game cost back in the 1990s.
You paid for the game, you played the game, you enjoyed the game, and then you put it back in its little cartridge box, and you bought your next one, or you took it down to CEX or whatever existed back then, and you exchanged it for a different one. Game, yeah. Yeah, and you exchanged it for your next game, and you repeated the process, because games were built better then. Games were built without live service, without DRM, without a one-day patch to fix the fuck up that was the initial launch, because you didn't have access to the internet. I am purely a PC gamer, but when I have dabbled in consoles, I have an Xbox S, and you launch a game or you buy a game, and the first thing it's doing is updating. And I've seen even on where people buy the disc version of games on the PS5, and you put the game in, and that should be it. I mean, I think back to the PS1 and the PS2. You put the game in, and you press play, and there was your game, and you enjoyed it. Bugs and all, if there were bugs. Now you put your game in to load the game, and it's downloading a 100 gigabyte patch.
I feel so bad for people who have like awful internet. Just imagine that. Like, going back to what I said earlier, mate. You book the day off and you buy your game, you put it in, and then boom, you can't play it straight away. What an awful feeling that must be.
Yeah, between that and just the servers being slammed and probably overwhelmed and shut down. It's just you're probably like with the day one patch having to wait for that. It's like, okay, I just got my game. I'm sure gonna enjoy playing it here in 3 hours.
Yeah, right. Time to go to bed.
And you don't even get a manual anymore to fill the time whilst you wait for it to launch.
This is what I miss. And I'm holding up a copy of Warhammer 40k Rights of War. This is how it used to be. And the manual in this is a dictionary. I miss that so much.
Kids don't understand how much time and effort these games used to put into the manual, because back in the day, they didn't have the constant communication with their customers they do now. It was all the communication you had was, hey, here's a letter from us to you. The game's finished and ready to play. Good luck. Versus now, they don't have to tell you jack.
No, you just open a box and it's a code. It's like, oh, great.
And it was the smell. You opened the box and just the smell. It was such a wonderful, wonderful experience. And kids these days, they don't know what they're missing.
I know. I miss pre-internet.
So I think that it's fair to say, as you would expect, grumpy old gamers think that games were better back then.
I think they were more complete and, as I said, had more charm.
I think that's true. Hopefully in the future, games will become better and get even, to the point where people think that the games are now. But I guess we'll have to wait and see how AI and everything treats the video game marketplace.
Yeah, that's a massive thing too, isn't it? Yeah, we'll see. Can't really predict it with that, honestly.
We can predict it. It's not going to happen. Guys, we're going to have to wrap it up there because we're approaching our time limit. So thank you very much for joining me on our first episode of the Grumpy Old Gaming Podcast. I've had a lot of fun talking to you. You're all right. I'm going to say you're okay for a bunch of grumpy old fucks. So
solid B minus.
Sure.
A C plus, maybe a C plus.
Yeah.
So Ian, Tim, thanks very much for coming and sitting down and talking to me about games tonight. It's been much appreciated. I'm Al. This is the Grumpy Old Gamer Podcast. Thank you very much if you've tuned in to listen to us to our first episode. Subscribe to us on our YouTube, on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts, you'll find us. If you go to gog.fm, that's our main website, until Good Old Games come and tell us to close it down. If you go to gog.fm, you'll find all the links for all of the ways that you can listen to the podcast, all of the ways to get involved, Discords, Twitters, which is a cesspit, everywhere. That's how you get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Come and join the Discord. Come and tell us if you think that we're shit, if you think that we're brilliant. Feedback is really important, and it really does mean the world to us. So thanks very much. Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, you, Al.
Yeah, much appreciated.
This is the Grumpy Old Gamer signing off.